What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Serious Angler podcast powered by X2 Power. Today we got an awesome show for you. We got MikeyBalzz coming on. We're going to be talking about the dog days of summer. But first, I want to give a congrats to Dustin Connell for winning the Cayuga BPT event. And just so everybody knows, there was almost an 8-pound summertime smallmouth caught by Dakota Ebear, which is insane for that lake. Multiple 6-pounders. Maybe we can get them on here in the future to talk about it. I'm sure it's going to get blown up everywhere. So, but a couple side notes coming up. The fantasy show for Lake Oahe will be live on Tuesday night. And the rumor has it, Bart will actually be joining us. Finally, I think it's been since like week 2. So I guess we need everybody to chime in and say less Bart while he is actually in, because he will show up this week is what he is telling us. So just so you know, it is me, the captain tonight, Andrew Foll. Bailey is on a work trip in Wisconsin. And from what I hear, he bribed Mikey to come on and then didn't show up. And Deacon is up here in New York, actually, but I'm not going to see him because he's 8 hours on the other side of the state. He just fished the Toyota event on Champlain. And another side note, I am currently boatless. My boat is in the shop, and the rumor has it, BRP was hacked by some government forces somewhere on the other side of the planet. So that is great. My guide business is at a standstill. But if anybody wants to go steelhead fishing come mid-October, let me know. But without further ado, so I don't ramble on here and look like a babbling baboon by myself, let's get Mikey on here. What's up, dude?
What's up, dude?
Yeah. So sorry about Bailey asking you to come on and then no show.
Don't worry. I texted him already, dude. I'm like, I must be the B team, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you just ditch out and leave me hanging. It's cool, you know. Like, we all have to settle, right? Like,
yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, we're settling for a whole lot of nothing here. So, but I do appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. So,
self-deprecation, bro.
Yeah.
No, we're both the B team at this rate, dude. Yeah. Holy shit.
I mean, he's living his life. No, he's had a very busy summer. He's been at I feel like 8 of the last 10 episodes I've basically run by myself, because he's just been everywhere with winning Hobie events, placing top 10 in Hobie events, and traveling for ICAST and work trips. And I think he's going somewhere else in a couple weeks. Like, the guy is just nonstop.
Dude, it's going to have to go 60-40 to you instead of that split down the middle. Dude.
Right. No, it's all fair and game. Like, he does a lot of back end work. So he is the main, the brainchild of the brand. So he is, without Bailey, Serious Angler would honestly be nothing.
That is true, dude. It's kind of interesting because I was actually talking to him and then talking to a buddy. And I remember, I think the last time I was on this was when, like, no offense, but you guys were like this big, I think it was like 4 years ago, dude. It was a long time ago.
Well, I think you're on in the first 100, and then we had you on somewhere shortly after I joined Bailey, which I joined at the 100th episode. And we were still itty bitty,
dude.
Maybe
so you guys have come a long way, because Bailey was still in school, I think, when we did the very first one, and
I think so, or just coming out of it. It's crazy.
So it's cool to see how you guys have grown, and now you have this whole fancy logo thing going on, dude. And I feel pretty important. I like it, dude.
Yeah, only the best for our guests and viewers. So
for the B team.
For the B team. Yeah, only the best for the B team. I mean, if we are being categorically subjective here, Bailey's name starts with the B, so we could all be the A team. So
making me feel good. The millennial heart is rising, bro.
Yes, perfect, right? So what's going on? What's new with MikeyBalzz down there in Alabama, Florida? What's up?
I'm in Florida, actually. Yeah, I'm down in Florida. It actually is not very good down here. I will warn you. But it's the same old. Like, just doing some fishing. I'm down here for my little summer jaunt. I went and hung out with JT for a little while. We shot some stuff. I'm trying to catch some big fish, kind of late summer offshore, and then I'm headed back to Alabama. And what's really cool is my little brother had a kid, And I haven't seen my best friend who used to come down and go peacock fishing when I lived in Florida, like once every year, 2 years, depending on kind of work, etc. And I haven't seen him for years. So we are going to, me and Swimsuit Girl are going to take a little road trip and go up to Wisconsin, try to catch some smallmouth. They're not going to be 8-pound smallmouth. I can almost guarantee that. But
headline alert, Wisconsin has giants.
They do. And we're actually going to go. So I don't know. You're a big lake guy. You're Erie and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like hunting down little tiny lakes, even if you fish like 2 or 3 in a day. And we're going to go up to northern Wisconsin and do a little like tiny, tiny house jaunt, but it's a tiny lake jaunt. We're going to look for some little ponds, some little puddles to drop the boat in and see if we can't sneak up on some big smallmouth, dude.
Those little lakes always produce giants. Like,
dude, it's fun.
We have some little tiny like ponds about an hour from my house that put out giant fish. We just don't talk about them. I almost enjoy those more than the big pond. Like, I joke with Bailey all the time on it. I'm like, dude, I am so tired of smallmouth fishing. Get this spinning rod out of my hand. Give me a 3/4 ounce weight, some 50-pound braid or 65-pound braid, and let's go flip grass. Like, that's what I want to do all the time.
And that's what's cool. You go up there in September, all the kids are back to school, but like that's the best because the grass is all peaked out, especially with the late spring that we had. So we're going to have smallmouth roaming offshore, some largemouth roaming around, and then there's going to be like lily pads. There's going to be milfoil. There's going to be cabbage, all this stuff that's all peaked out and growing. So I'm hoping I'm going to fit in really well up there, but we'll see kind of how it plays out.
If you know how to fish grass, you'll be fine, which you know how to fish grass.
I do a little bit.
Yeah. But like about a month ago, I just put out a little video today where me and Bailey got out fun fishing for the second time, I think, all year.
Ouch.
And we lived like 8 minutes away. That's how busy the
He's got you on the B team too, dude. I'm telling you.
I'm like the F team, dude. Like, I'm just kidding. Like, I talk to him all day, every day. So like, it's kind of ridiculous how much we talk, but it's a good thing, which means partnership and the friendship is good, right? So, but we went to this little tiny reservoir that basically I call the secret lake, and I was catching smallies on buzz baits, but they were all like 15 inches. Yeah,
who cares?
All right,
that's awesome.
And then I was like, we're either gonna catch 5 fish all day, and it's going to suck, or we're gonna blast them. And we caught them on chopos, buzz baits, frogs. He caught a 12-inch smallie on a glide bait, like a big glide bait,
coming out and crushing it, dude.
Yeah, like it was sinking and it's smashing. He goes, I got one. And jigs, like flipping trees and jigs. Like the boat's in 30 foot of water and you're flipping up into like 6 inches.
I love that, dude. Yeah.
But that's the one thing, like when I sell my Triton, I'm going to be sad about, because I can't get a boat with a dual axle trailer on that lake.
Why?
Because the boat ramp is so short, and at the end of it, it falls off into 45 foot of water. So basically, when I put my boat in the lake, literally like my tires on the end of the ramp with a single.
Yeah, but you know what I've found actually, because that's another new thing that happened to me is I finally did pull the trigger on a new boat. I got that Nitro Z20. What I've actually found with that is the way the trailers are, I feel almost like I'm maybe not less in the water, but I can get on and off the trailer easier. Maybe I'm wrong, dude, but like
it could be just a power thing too, because the boat's got more power.
That's the thing with that 250. Like, I was really surprised how much I can keep the trailer out of the water to get back on. Getting it off the trailer, maybe that might be an issue, but I would venture to say that you might be all right. Obviously, you got to be careful if you try it. You know, you pull the trigger from one. But
if the water's high, I know I can get it in because that lake fluctuates. It's a reservoir, so when we get a big rain, it'll come up like 2 feet, and then in like 3 days, it'll drop. Like,
I got you.
There could be like 5 foot swings. So when me and Bailey were there about a month ago, it was very hard to get my boat in that lake because it was so low. Yeah. So, but it was fun.
You just gotta have 2 boats, bro. You gotta have the boat for the secret lake, and then you got your boat for the big lake, you know, and living large, dude.
Or try to go somewhere in between. Like if I could find a way to get like a 20 footer that fishes like a 21 and a half, but I can maneuver it like an 18 and a half or 19 foot, I'd be the happiest person alive.
So, what's kind of funny is that, like, I don't want to juice the boat too much. One of the concerns I had, so I had the same boat as you, the 189. One of the concerns that I had is I'm not a small water guy, but I like fishing small waters, and especially like Florida. So we got all these canals. We look for spawning fish. Some of the boat ramps, like you're talking about, they don't drop off to 40 feet, but they're slivers. They're concrete, but they're slivers. So one of my concerns was the navigability and the docileness. That's the best word of the 20 footer. So my boat is 20'2". I would not go any bigger. And in my ideal world, I would have like a 19.5, something like that. That would be like the perfect boat. But I was really surprised when I did all my boat comparisons, how much, like all these boats corner pretty good when you're driving them on pad and all that.
Yeah.
The Nitro, dude, I can literally be perpendicular to my trailer, like 15 feet away. I can turn that thing and put it on a trailer, like in a dime, kind of like with our 189s.
Yeah.
Like literally you can trailer that thing on a right angle. Like you can just swing on there and pop it in. I was really surprised how easy it was to trailer and to just cut around while idling, not while on pad and that, but it's super docile. And I don't know if it has to do with the way they do that cup thing in the hull.
Yeah, I think it is because of how long the pad is on that boat too. Yeah. Right? Like it has a longer pad, so it must. And I think that's why it sits so high.
Boat, yeah, it really drives like a short boat, which I like because I was a little worried. You're like, dude, I can do about 50, in my Triton or whatever. Yep. And I was worried about, just being safe because I don't go fast and stuff. And dude, it's been an easy transition. And that's one of the things I was most concerned about going up to a bigger boat with a Merc 250 and that. And it's really been seamless, dude.
Awesome. That makes me happy. That was going to be my next question. Like, how is the new boat treating you? So like, badass. Sounds like we're hopping right into it.
It's badass, dude. I really like it. I know Nitro gets a lot of flack. I really like the boat. I looked at a lot of different boats, and my biggest selling feature was I had a basic way I wanted it laid out. I wanted the big middle kind of locker for all your day gear and that. I wanted the big rod lockers. I wanted a lot of storage space because not only do I have a bunch of baits fishing Alabama, from going to Lanier, going to Florida, but I also have all the camera stuff, But I also didn't want to go too big, so that 1920 was the juice. And a lot of 20-foot boats are like 20'5", 20'8". They're on the brink of 21. And I don't need that because I'd say 85% of the time I'm fishing alone. So that 20'2" with the 250 was all of the power and yet a little more compact, but with a giant front deck. And I really like it, dude. And the price point. The price point was a big thing too. If you guys watch the videos at all, I am El Cheapo, dude. Like I like things that come in budget because a lot of things in bass fishing, especially the direction we're going, they sort of excommunicate the guys who want to just fish, And I'm not saying it's a inexpensive boat because it's still expensive, but when you start doing price points on the basic boat and then all the little fishability things you want to add on, dude, it gets expensive quick. And this was a way to start off with a decent base and then do all the things that I felt I needed to be successful on the water.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I know you did your entire series, right, where you basically previewed every single boat. So, like, this is a personal question. If you didn't go with the Nitro, what would have been your second choice?
So I really like the Falcon, and I am a little biased because I've been in it more than just the simple boat walkthrough videos that I did. JT has one, so I'm always filming him in that. It has a super large deck. The storage is very broad. The only thing that's weird is the rod lockers. They go like that.
They go straight up, right?
Yeah, dude. I kind of got used to that. But I look at a Falcon as sort of the new school Ranger. It has a lot of the same features, but a lower gunnel, just giant. I think it's like 100 inches, dude. And once again, the one he had, he actually has the new one, the bigger one, but it's like the F20. And I think it comes in at like 20'2" again with the 250. Yeah. So I really like that one. It had the toggle switches, which were old school, but they're super reliable. The other one that I really liked, if I'm being honest, is the Skeeter. I like how they're a lot like Nitro in the sense, not like Nitro, but they offer a lot of gradients you know, they have their two different lines, I think it is. So you have your affordable blue collar line and then your high end. But the way you can tweak those boats and do the add-ons and stuff, there's a lot of options. And the base boat is a sweet boat. We don't see many of those in Florida, and I really wish we did because it's a great boat for Florida. I'm making no judgments on Yamaha, but I've always had a Mercury, so that's one thing that made me slightly uncomfortable. I wasn't used to that motor. I'm more comfortable with the Mercury stuff, so that was one thing that kind of pushed me away a little bit.
Well, I think when it comes to boat shopping, right, you have your preferences, and the more you ride in boats, you understand and get a feel for them, and you can drive them. So, like, personally for me, I've had Yamahas and Evinrude and Johnson's, right? So I've never had a Merc. And all of my really good friends that I talk to that run bass boats all run shows. And I've never seen them have issues, like, ever with the show.
They're good motors, dude.
They're incredible. Like, Destin Marion is one of my best friends. He was on the Elite Series the last 2 years. And my buddy Jeff, they both have 21 PHXs. You want to talk about a big boat? Yeah. That is a battleship. Yeah. But it's incredibly riding. But I mean, when you start seeing boat prices at $100,000, like, dude, without stuff on them, like, I shed a tear. It's terrifying.
Yeah, dude. Well, and I don't want to get too off shooting, but I mean, that's why kayaking is such a big deal. That's why you see a lot of these guys going with, you know, these customized John boats, which, little throwback to your earlier thing, one of my goals down the line, if I can, you know, generate enough income, it's all a slow process, but I would like to have two boats. You know, a lot of Florida guys have a saltwater boat and a freshwater boat, but I loved my John boat. And there's some lakes by me that are the horsepower limit, you know, the 25 horse. I would love to take like a 16 or 17 foot John and literally just deck it out, customize it. You can run like transducers like you have on your bass boat and just switch your units out between the two and have like a little John boat that I can put in some naughty places or some of these horsepower restricted things, kind of like the lake you're talking about. I think that would be super cool, dude.
Absolutely. I've always thought about that too. Like, we have a couple lakes in our area that are 9.9 horsepower restricted, and they have ungodly giant fish in them, and they get no pressure. And it's just like, I wish I could get my boat in there.
Exactly. And dude, the reality is, like, you don't even need a 9.9. Like, with the lithium batteries we have, and like how cheap the little, like, I don't even know what they're called now, but like the Endura, you know, the old Dakota, like, dude, you could put like 100-pound thrust like Endura on the back with like a lithium 24-volt set, still have your trolley on the front, or just run the trolley off the like on your, with, I don't know if you got Lowrance stuff, but on my Lowrance with the Ghost, I can run the Ghost off my graph. So I could be sitting on a cooler in the back, driving around, run an active target off the front, and like still go like 4 or 5 miles an hour, dude.
Oh yeah, that Ghost is insane. Especially if you put in a 36-volt system on the John boat, you're never running out of battery juice.
Exactly,
never.
Dude. So there's some cool little electric options. It'd be a real cool video series too. I think, what's his name? He's a super cool dude. I think he's like Maryland. What the hell's his name? He comes down here. He was one of the mystery tackle box guy. I don't know. He runs a John boat though. Like super OG guy. But dude, the customization that he's done with that is insane, dude.
Yeah, we got a couple guys up here that have like rigged out like old like 1970 deep fees where they basically like cut the top off and just put like a bass fishing platform, and the one guy has like 4 HCS 12s, a Ghost, like insane, and he freaking rocks them. Yeah.
Well, dude, one of my original boats, if you like, YouTube ironically doesn't show the old videos usually, but my original boat that was mine, other than the one that I rented, was a 16-foot 1977 John that I put a freaking Tiller 35 on, and I built a PVC structure, so I had like a freaking 7.5, 8-foot deck on the front, dude. It was badass, man.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. I love that stuff. It's so cool to see people do that. Like, it's fun. It takes me back to like grassroots fishing, me growing up and learning how to fish. Like I used to go out with my neighbor all the time in a little like basically dinghy boat in Lake Erie and catch smallies on it with a trolling motor and a 5 horsepower motor. Take 2 hours to get there, but once you got there, you got them. So, It's incredible. So, like, as we kind of hop along here, like, how is the YouTube business treating you currently before we get into the main topic of the episode?
It's always a struggle. Well, I guess I should say it like this. I love making the videos, and even if I was getting 0 views, maybe if I wasn't getting 0 views, but like I would make the videos no matter what. I love capturing that experience because it's something that like I cherish. And the original concept behind the videos was like a fishing log, and now they're more fancy. They're vloggy, they're tip videos and stuff. But in the end, the very base of it, the essence was there's so much more information packed into a video versus trying to write down in a log, so I can go back and look at some of that stuff, see what the fish were doing. But it's been kind of tough for some of us guys who've been doing it for years. YouTube has changed some things, and it reduces our view counts. It sort of hits on some of what I think, like, it goes against some of the grassroots stuff. Unless you're being super clickbaity, you're doing crazy stuff all the time. You're getting
got arrested or almost arrested.
Exactly, dude. and I play around with some of that stuff too to make sure that YouTube, dishes out, like, disseminates the content. But it's a game. It's frustrating, but it's also very rewarding at times. And I like doing it. Like, that's just the reality. And that might be my downfall, dude, is I like making the vids. I like interacting. Dude, it's such a cool experience to roll up to a boat ramp and have some dude come up to you and be like, hey, dude, I watched the videos. And then you sit there and you bullshit for a while, like talk about what they're doing, what they're fishing. Maybe they pulled a tip off the video and then they throw me a tip, that I can use in a video moving forward. That sort of like camaraderie and fellowship has been a real cool thing. And the channel is growing, dude. I don't know if I'll ever hit 100K. That's kind of my one little goal. If I could hit 100K subscribers on a personal level, that's something where I can be like, you know what? I've done this for, I think it's 12 years now, dude. It's like, I'm not big time, but the process has finally kind of culminated in this sort of end game, So it's been cool, dude. And I ain't going anywhere.
Hey, you got to love what you do in order to do it. So
yeah, dude, because I make a lot more money doing other shit. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So like the whole guiding life, right? It's not a very prosperous life. It's you have to love it in order to do it. So
it's rewarding, but not prosperous.
Exactly.
And then that's the key. But I think that's the deal with a lot of this stuff. These are all our passion projects, and we're very fortunate to be able to participate, contribute, and do something that we love. And what a lot of guys don't see is the amount of infrastructure, the amount of moves, the manipulating systems that we had to do in order to sort of get to where we're at. And I think that's really something that we all kind of like hold, like very dear. Like it's a process to get there. It takes a lot of work. But once you get there, dude, you got to say, hey, like, I went through this process. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm a part of this scene, and it's a cool place to be in, dude.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is where I give Bailey a ton of credit. He's put like hundreds of hours into like learning and talking and networking with everybody, right? And I don't know if you follow his personal YouTube page that he started, the fish one. It exploded overnight, so quick to 1,000. But I am so happy for him. Like
he deserves it. He's been grinding. Well, me and you were talking about before we went
4 years. I think it's about 4 years now.
That when I first came on, Bailey's in college, dude. It's like this little. He's like, "Hey, bro, you want to come on my podcast?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude!" And it's now you got all these fancy logos and stuff. So it's cool, dude. It takes a lot of work, but like I don't know, it's a cool deal, dude.
Gratifying and rewarding.
It is rewarding, dude. And that's the thing. Sometimes, like, we all get pounded on, whether you're fishing weekend derbies, whether you're just fishing for fun, whatever, whether you're trying to do YouTube stuff, social media, like, it's always a grind, dude. And really, like, a lot of us grassroots guys are always the ones getting stepped on, the ones getting pounded on. So sometimes you got to step back and be like, I did that. Whether it's freaking blown up viral video or whether it's just like you whacking a giant bag, even if it didn't get the views or whatever you wanted it to get, you're like, I did that. I took the time. I invested my time capital, my passion into creating that. And I did that. And you know what? It's pretty damn good, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's impressive the run that you're on. It's probably what, 10, 11 years now, right? Like I
Dude,
remember the old bass tracker videos and
yeah, dude.
yeah, there's
And
some
and that's what, that's a great example, Andrew. Like sometimes I get frustrated with where I'm at because I'd like to be more forward. I'd like to have grown more. I'd like to have gotten more views or something along those lines. And like, dude, literally I need to like punch myself in the face, and I step back and I look in the driveway and I'm like, dude, I got a new boat. Literally 5-6 years ago, I never imagined I would have a new boat. And I have a new boat. And there's a lot of factors that went into that, but like part of that is the work that I put in, and like the time, all this time where I thought, man, this is going nowhere. This is frustrating. What the hell am I doing? Like those things you need to sort of dwell on and take in and really take stock of sometimes, because that's what motivates you to then keep going and do more of the grinding, do more of the slaving along, dude, to just push it forward, because things do gradually come along.
well, I think that's a great point too, is if we can find acceptance in what we have, aren't we prosperous in life as opposed to the monetary acceptance, right? So we're technically more rewarded than we would be if we were just making all this money doing something we didn't love.
I don't know. I'll take all the money, dude.
Would you?
No, I wouldn't.
So what can you buy with more money? Cool sports cars, more boats, but by earning all that money and working so hard to make all that money, right? Some people get lucky and win the lottery, but if you work really hard to make money all of your life, you're missing out on a lot of fundamental grassroots stuff that ultimately is what makes people happy.
It's funny you say that too, because in the past, I think it's been about the past year, I've really kind of stepped back from myself and thought about, maybe I'm getting older and I'm,
wiser.
Wiser, yeah. But I step back and I'm like, what do I value? Like what actually, I'm working all the time, I'm doing all this. When do I actually like smile about something? And like, I'm like, dude, when I'm on the water, even if it's a total shit day, like I literally take moments out there and I'll stop and I'll be like, and it's so lame too. It's like millennial lame, like great participation might kind of, but it's like, I love being out here, dude. Yeah. And I like, I'll look at the tree line, I'll look at the sunrise, I'll look at the water just rippling, things that would like B-roll, dude. I'll just look at that and take it in and be like, this is what I like to do. This is where I like to be. And so I've kind of, I work a ton. Like outside, I don't do YouTube full time like a lot of these guys. I do a lot of contract social media work where I, create stuff, videography. I do a million different things actually. But what I've been trying to do lately is I'm like, what do I like? What do I want to do more of? And it really turns back to the video stuff. I want to make that successful. It doesn't need to be insanely like blow up, but I want to do more of that. And the cool result of that has been indirectly, I've been fishing more and making more videos. And actually the videos have been more successful. And so there's something to be said for sort of doing like a self-inventory and looking at that and saying, I'm not going to be a millionaire, but what will make me feel like a millionaire? Kind of like what you're saying, know? And that's kind of the path I've sort of veered onto. We'll see where it takes me. In 5 years, I might have to go get a desk job, but for now, we're gonna full send, right?
People are gonna be calling Geico Insurance Agency and hello, this is Mikey.
You got a boat? You need a boat insured, bro?
So
what kind of boat, man? I like boats.
It's fantastic. So let's digress here, and we're gonna hop into the dog days of summer. In Florida, it's hot. New York, it's hot, right? So we're gonna dive into your top 5 lures / presentations of the dog days of summer. We're gonna go backwards from 5 to 1. So hit everyone with your 5th favorite presentation of the summer.
So I'll say it's my 5th favorite, not because I don't like doing it, but it doesn't work all the time. So it's kind of a hit or miss deal. And it's something that I'm doing in Florida right now. And that's chasing bait. So what happens is, you get these offshore bites like in the early kind of post spawn into the middle of summer, and you can catch them on ledges, on various sort of variations of that theme, pods of fish, schools of fish. But gradually, as summer gets later, those jokers tend to become more pelagic. I guess your fish are kind of always pelagic, but a lot of the largemouth become a little more pelagic versus structure oriented. You still catch some on brush piles, on ledges and stuff like that, but they're not as thick, whether it's because they're beat up or because there's a seasonal change gradually happening. So it's actually what I did today. I chase bait. And I do that with a variety of different presentations. So this might cover a few of our top 5, but like a hair jig, a swim bait, oftentimes like a blade swim bait, maybe like an underspin style swim bait.
Like a Magnum one, like a 6-inch paddle tail.
6-inch. Sometimes I'll go down to the micro Kayaks. As we get later in the season, I'll kind of downsize as we get towards fall. But like things along those lines that I'm casting and reeling, but really a scrounger head's another example. The key to them is they ride up. You're not structure oriented. You're not bottom oriented. You're upward oriented. A rig, becomes more and more of a player later in the fall. So I'll actually basically idle scan for bait, whether that's on a flat, up shallow, whether that's like today where I'm in 30 feet of water over like mud bottom even. Like they don't even care because they're not relating to the bottom. They're relating to bait. And I'll look for bait pods and not even see fish. And then it's getting out the active target, getting out your forward-facing sonar. And that's when I'm more looking for fish. I'm looking for pods of bait that are so dense that either one, I can't see the bass in them, or they're so dense because there's bass around. And the reaction that bait does is it groups up, And it's real hit or miss. That's why it's my number 5, because I probably stopped on 10 places today where I saw that bait, everything like check boxes. My list is good to go. The next thing should be a fish. And yeah, I didn't catch dick. So like, that's kind of the game you play. But the funny part is I had near 30 pounds today, but I think I caught 7 fish in 9 hours.
Yeah,
so
brutal day.
But yeah, it's brutal, but it was rewarding. The other part is like I stopped back on the places where I actually got those few bites. And dude, compared to what time did I start? 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, when I got back and did my kind of recircle to where I'd marked bait, there's nothing there.
Because that bait moves so much.
It moves, dude. And not even within 150, 200 yards, Yeah. So it's very timing oriented. It's very hit or miss. It's freaking lotto, dude. So that's probably my number 5.
How many times have you gone out there and you're like, I'm going to chase bait today, and you just can't find it?
Actually, I've been in Florida for about a week and a half, and that was my first week. I literally got here, and I don't know what the hell I was doing wrong. I lost like 33 pounds of fish, fishing a swim bait, doing the bait deal. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to F them up. Like, I'm going to take it to town, And I went back out the next like 3 or 4 days, and I idled looking for the same stuff. And dude, I never found it. Like the bait when a lot of times, at least when I'm chasing is high bait. So it might be touching the bottom, but it goes super high. Like it really stacks up and gets super dense, or little balls that are like 5 to 10 foot off the bottom, but super tight. And dude, all I would see is like fuzz on the bottom, and it'd run for like hundreds of yards. And I'm like, dude, I have no idea where these jokers are going to be. There could be one right there and one 2 miles down the way,
Yeah, so like up here in the north, what I find is it's very correlated to moon phases where the bait moves.
Yeah.
And what I found is when you're like in a new moon or a full moon phase, like we're coming into now, a lot of times that bait will actually get in the grass.
Really?
Yeah. So I think those bait push shallow when the moon comes out, because everything when there's a full moon always goes shallow. And I found bait,
all that. Yeah.
I find the bait will get in the grass.
See, it's funny you say that, because I'm not a big lunar guy, because in the end, like I'm going fishing on Tuesday, whether like it's right or not. Yeah. And when I got down here, I think we were on the after of a full moon. So I'm like, dude, this is going to be.
Today is technically the super moon. The fullest it is supposed to be is today.
Right.
Well, so as we're recording, sorry.
So I guess what I'm saying is when I got down, it was like not the high moon.
Oh, like gotcha. Yeah.
Like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. So I figured they should be out, And what I found actually, and this is once again like the factors of fishing. There's a million different like factors working.
All the variables.
the water wasn't that great, and the water's cleared up, and it's actually pretty good now, even though it was a grind to get those bites. But it was weird because the whole time that I thought they would be out deep, they were for that one day, and then they weren't. And now all of a sudden, like, they're out deep, or the bigs are out deep, and the bait's up high. I think because of the moon thing you're actually talking about. But it's not stellar. I don't know. The late spring definitely changed the dynamic, both in Alabama and down here.
Do you ever go out at night?
What's that?
Do you ever go out night fishing? Like,
so I should. I think 100% I would smash their face, but I hate it for a couple of reasons. The mosquitoes, even though they don't bite me that much, would carry you away down here. And then the other thing is I can't shoot video, and literally, dude, I am religious about the content. And if I'm not getting content, I'm not being successful. That's my tournament fishing, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like that's my gradient for today was a successful day. Today was I just wasted 12 hours of my life, and I'm never going to get it back,
Fair enough. Yeah, I feel those pains. And like for me, I love tournament fishing, and I've only fished 3 this year, and it's slightly tearing me up on the inside. But I also love like switching roles and filming content more, taking people fishing, watching people catch giant fish. That is so like gratifying. It's crazy.
It's fun, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I took the leap in 2012. We talked about it before we started. I was making no money. I took the leap to work for myself, and it was scary. And I had to make a choice between, do I want to shoot videos, or do I want to fish derbs? Because I can't spend the $60 for the weekend derb. Like, I don't have it right now. Mm-hmm. And I took the leap to just shoot the video, and I like that. Like, it sets up a different sort of parameters or stipulations of success. It's very different from tournament fishing, but it's the same concept in the sense of I need to execute on X, Y, and Z, and it might not work, but that's what I think is the best opportunity to get the content that I need. And, in a tournament, it would be, I'm going to hit X, Y, and Z spot in X, Y, and Z way to try to get the biggest bag of fish. So there's a lot of similarities to it, in the process. So I don't know. That's kind of how I do my days. And it is cool because it's a different challenge all the time, just like tournament fishing.
Yeah. And then like, also, if you think about when you're filming, you don't have to be so tied down into like one specific pattern or thought on that day, right? Like, you can go out and just be like, you know what? Screw it. Let's scrap it. The camera's rolling. Let's just wild card and see what happens. And then all of a sudden you run into something because you're not so tied down into it. Like, I got to catch 5 fish, the 5 biggest fish I can. When you're just out there filming, it's not for fun, it's for work. But when you're out there filming, you can be like, you know what? We need to figure out something else. But because it's not in that tournament setting, if it doesn't work today, you could always go back tomorrow and do it.
Right.
So you have more leniency when it comes to that.
I would disagree with that.
Maybe. Like, this is me rambling and thinking.
So one of the things that I don't want to, so it's this fine line when it comes to the videos. I don't want to always drive a narrative because I think that's faux. It's sort of, it's manipulated, but at the same time, I do want to frame things up in a manner that people can digest them, So there is always a challenge to, I got to use the word narrative, even though that's not the one I want to use, to create a narrative. It may be more in the sense of a story, but oftentimes it's in the sense of a pattern, so that there's something that's very tangible and formed up that a viewer can get out. And even for me personally, that I can get out. Like, what did I learn? And that's what it becomes. It's not about the big bag. It's sort of, what is the sort of, what's the topic sentence? Like, if you're writing like a paper, like an essay, what's the topic sentence of today that I can get out? Yeah. So that is where it's challenging, because then I need to build footage and various components around that in order to sort of, because, dude, I can shoot my mouth off for hours, but in the end, like, it's words getting thrown at you. So in order to do that in a more digestible fashion, I need to do it in pictures and video. So anything that I say, I need to make sure that I've captured it and framed it up in in appearance, in a video clip, So, like today was a hair jig day. So I need to make sure I'm getting the graph pictures of how the bait's set up, how they're clouded up, how this is the right bait, this is the wrong bait, how my setup is, all these components to sort of build that framework so that when somebody watches it, they're not just like, I just watched a fishing video. They're like, dude, I want to try that on my lake. And now I have all the tools so that I can do that,
Yeah. And I'm sure too, like, to where you are from now, and then if we step back 10 years, right? These are all things that you've kind of put together over time to get to where you are.
Because I just sent it back up, bro.
Yeah, you just went fishing.
Just sent it. And sometimes I do that too. That's been one thing. We're talking about having fun with the videos. So one thing I've been doing this past year that I've really enjoyed is diversifying the videos. So, we'll shoot, if I got some cool tip video, like about something that's working seasonally, dude, blast it out. If I get a new toy, freaking do a little review, blast it out. Dude, I'll take swimsuit girl out, bust her balls, go try to catch some fish, put the video out. We hung out with Monster Bass guys. They came down and did a shoot on Gunnersville. Alex Rudd, you said you love Alex. So, dude, hanging out, like we caught fish and stuff, and I filmed the fish. The best part was just hanging out and giving Alex shit about his beard, dude. So like, I've really tried to shoot some different genre videos. And what's funny is I started doing it for like the audience, for people watching the vids. And in the end, I'm doing it for me because it's fun, dude. Like shooting different kinds of things and like just different opportunities and capturing those different kind of interactions and stuff. It's been a lot of fun, dude. And it's made making the videos, I think I'm grinning a lot more when I'm making the videos, and that's because of the process that I'm going through. So
you're almost finding like the happy median where you need to be
exactly
content created. So, but before we get even further down the rabbit hole, right? Yeah, let's hone in, digress. Number 4. What is the fourth favorite?
God, you're gonna grind me through these guys. So number 4 I'll do because I actually hate it, but I don't mind it because I kind of like it, but I don't like it. So it's worm fishing, dude. Like get out. A lot of guys throw a 10-inch ribbon tail. I try to be a little different. I put a freaking stick bait, like a Gambler Ace or a Gambler Fat Ace, depending on depth, anywhere from a 3/16 to a 5/16, and I'll fish a 5/16 down to like 25 foot if there's no current, but Texas rig, 15-pound fluorocarbon, drag it around. And it's not fishing for fish you see on your graph. You can, and there's opportunities like that, but it's fishing, dude. Like the fish are in a crap mood. You see some stumps, you see some grass, you throw to it. You're on a point, you cast to it. And it's sort of junk fishing / high percentage area fishing with something that just works from July through probably September, depending on where you are. And it works up north. It works in the south. It works in Florida. There's something about that soft plastic worm that they can't stand. It can be really annoying to fish, but there's a reason you see old men on Facebook holding up giants this time of year because they're sitting in their little bicycle seat going, hey, Skeeter, I got one, So,
Real.
Yeah, dude. For gut hooking. I hate that, dude. They gut hook so many fish. It drives me nuts.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. Like I've gotten on a deal lately. I've been throwing like the 7-inch Strike King cutter worm up here. Basically doing the same thing on like a quarter 5/16 ounce weight. Now put the boat deep and cast up on like main lake points and just where I can find the good sparse grass, throw it out there, hop, like 2-3 hops, burn it in and throw it right back. And I'm like, I'm going to get bit. And I caught a 5 and change the other day doing it, which is a big New York State fish. Yeah, I've caught smallmouth on it. Like it's
exactly. Well, and the crazy thing that guys don't often like put 2 and 2 together. Sometimes they do, but you'll get, when you do it with that lighter weight, you'll get a lot of bites on the fall. Yep. So you're not actually like flipping or anything or pitching or whatever for those who want to be anal about, whatever the names of the techniques. But like I get a bunch of bites when you're on them and you make the right cast. Like, dude, half the time, like there's like a little group of 2 or 3 of them and they're competitive and they'll come snatch it and you make that same cast 2 or 3 times. It ain't going to be a mega school, but dude, like it's,
if there's 5 there, you're going to catch 3 of them.
Exactly. Like, and oftentimes you catch the first one on the fall, dude. So like, it's kind of a cool deal. And I'll tell you one other thing that you can do is I don't like fishing it all the time. I've done it more on Gunnersville. Is you put a swimming worm like that cutter worm or like a burner worm, or I forget what the Zoom one is.
It's just speed worm.
Speed worm. Yeah.
There's the ultra speed and then a speed.
And what you can do is it's sort of 2 baits in one. So you can cast and do the drag and pop like that. You get bites on the fall because it almost looks like a stick bait. And then the other thing is like you slow roll it, dude. Yeah. So you got one rod to do all these different things. And especially, like I said, July through September, a soft plastic, like bites numbers and big ones. If you got one pick, that's it, dude. Like you can fish anything and everything. And if you swim it, you can even cover some water.
That's what I was going to say. The swimming thing, a couple weeks ago, I was pre-fishing for a pretty big tournament, and I got on a swimming the worm, but not just like subsurface. I went down to an 1/8 ounce weight, and I went to 17-pound fluoro, and I'd keep my rod tip high. I could almost wake it, and I was getting them to come up and eat it, waking it on the surface.
Come on down to Florida, dude. Like, we do that all the time, dude.
This is so dumb, but it's so fun. No big ones, but I'm like, they would just train wreck it. I'm like, this is a fun bite.
Well, and it's cool too because you can see them scooching around too. Yeah. Like it's a good way to know like this area is good. Drop your power poles or whatever you got, and make another 25 casts because they're here, they're scooching around,
Yeah, it's something I've never done until this year. I've never worm fished. I've always been against it. And then I was like, I just bought a pack of worms and I was like, I'm going to throw it for 8 hours one day on a guide trip because a lot of my clients are like, just fish with me. So I'm like, I'll do odd the wall stuff. And like 10 casts in, like varying retrieves, I stuck like a 4.5. And I'm like, okay, there's something to this. Like I got to figure it out. And it's become like my go-to offshore largemouth way to fish. It's just fun.
It is fun, especially
when they're on it. It's fun
when they're on it. But this year, at least for me, has been a really good worm year. Dude, I didn't have a scale and I caught what is my PB on Gunnersville and it was like 8 and change. But what I've found is I always hated the worm fishing, like throwing there and just like you're almost like sampling things that are high percentage areas. And what I did to sort of reinvigorate and sort of vitalize it, so I was interested in it, is I was using my active target. And I'm actually looking for cuts in the grass. I started finding shell bars that would cut into the grass on Gunnersville. And all of a sudden, worm fishing is interesting because I'm like targeting these specific areas, looking for them. And it's not, how do you put it? Like, it's not like school fishing, it's a little bit of like fishing, but you're also hedging the technology to be a little more efficient at it, be a little more dialed in. And also when you get a bite, understand why you got that bite. So it made worm fishing a lot more interesting for me this year, dude.
Absolutely. I found a lot of like the worm bites. It's the same thing. You're just driving down a weed edge and all of a sudden you'll see that cut in and you're like, oh, there's a hard spot or a shell bar.
Exactly.
You throw a waypoint on it after I graph the stretch. I come back and I make that 1, 2 casts, 3 casts, and then if I don't get bit, go to the next one. But I cycle until they eat, and I'm like,
dude.
Go back on the graph, write down what time I got bit there, so I know. I'm like, we're figuring this out. It's fun
because that's what I never liked. I'm kind of new school like that. I never liked the randomness, like, and that's what I don't think any of us like with fishing. Like, we want to understand and have a reason. Otherwise, we just walk away with, we caught some, I want to know why I caught them. I want to have some kind of some tangible intrinsic reason. And that's what's been kind of neat is with all this technology, like we can put a storyline behind why we got that bite. And it's not bullshit. It's actually, we have data actually to show like why it happened. And I think it's sort of reinvigorated some of those more old school techniques for me because there's another layer or another dimension that I can learn about and that I can see. Like even with, so let's jump in. What are we at? Number 3?
3. Yep.
So chatterbait, dude. The grass gets high. I don't catch many ripping a trap. I know you guys still do that up north during the summer on some of that grass. I just find that trap deal down in Florida, it's still decent, especially in the morning on schooling fish. But it almost seems like they prefer a chatterbait, something a little bulkier, maybe with a little wider kind of gait to it. But what I've found is, like everybody thinks of this forward-facing sonar as they're in 35 feet, they're suspended 10 foot off the bottom. You got to shake your drop shot right there. Well, there's a lot of this grass fishing with moving baits where, dude, I'll watch a fish like swipe up a bait, and I'm like, dude, I would have never known that happened, you know? Yeah. And this grass flat fishing, you know, you get on something, it might have some hard spots like we talked about, but you see some bait above the grass. And usually this is like 6 to 8 stuff, 6 to 10, you know, so you have your milfoil, your eelgrass that comes up.
Zone. Yep.
Yeah, you got some space. So you know there's fish there. And just looking for things that are moving above the grass, just to give me a little more confidence to sit there and you know, tick the grass with that chatterbait, you know, and just cover some water. But that's something that I'll do. Usually I want a little chop on the water. I'm not going to do it when it's dead calm at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But like, you pick up that chatterbait, even a spinnerbait, you know, they don't see as many spinnerbaits anymore. And really it's the same concept, but it's a little easier to throw around the wood. And I'll burn grass, dude. I don't like it so much for open water fishing this time of year, but like if you get a grass flat in that mid-depth range, late summer fish tend to go shallower versus going out for like deeper. I'll get out that chatter donker and I'll just start reeling, dude. And you get a couple bites, you power pull down or you spot lock, and you do one of those segments. You make it a pie, you know, pie graph, dude. You chop it up, you make 2 casts to each chunk of the pie and see if you get some more bites, and then you just keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. It's the same way with like flipping grass. It's literally, if you get bit, you stop and you fish the same 15-foot radius until you don't get bit again, and then you start finding the next pie.
Exactly.
Like, and I know that's probably coming in here as one of your.
Well, so that's a perfect segue. So the top 3 that I do, there's really, it's not a top 3. This is like
it's interchangeable.
Yeah, dude. And so and you might not like this. I don't know how rules oriented you are with this, but I'm going to put flipping and frogging in the same category.
That's fine.
If I got a flipping rod on deck, I got a frog rod on deck, because you're fishing the same style areas. It's just 2 ways to approach that. And oftentimes you run into different types of cover and you need one or the other. So late summer, grass is high. I don't care if you're up north, you're in Alabama, you're in Florida, all the grass is grown. So one of the best things is to flip mats or even strands, like you were talking about, those little like sparser grass edges, you know, pitching a jig on that stuff, pitching a stick bait to some of the strands you see either on active target or you can visually see with your polarized glasses. Otherwise, my favorite, you know, flipping mats, hydrilla, milfoil, even junk mats, anything that creates a canopy or a dome. And then I use that frog too. The next one, we're going to start getting into like topwater stuff. But what's interesting is you get in some of these grass flats and you'll see fish schooling, right? They'll be blowing up just like you would, like the stuff you look for to throw a spook to. But you can't because there's crap everywhere, whether it's floating or underwater. And I'll actually fish that frog not only in the scummy, gooey pad stuff, like not only around and in the cover, but outside of it, dude. Yeah. Like, you know, like I'll walk a frog, it's kind of an offshoot, but under a dock or open water, you know, over holes and things along those lines. I'll use it a lot like a spook as well as like a scummy kind of goo kind of approach. But don't plan on getting a lot of bites, you know, and it's area fishing. If something looks good, you're going to have to pick it apart to get your 4 or 5 bites, but it's a fun way to fish, you know, braid squealing, heavy rods, a lot of hydrilla gnats.
Hit them with everything you got.
So. Exactly, dude. And oftentimes the funniest part is you're using these big weights. You're using like a top water bait, using braid, and you got to go slow, dude. Like it's one of those funny things. You're power fishing, but the key to it is slowing down, maybe pumping that bait 10 times, doing stuff like that. And that's what I find is interesting about late summer. You'd think they'd be crushing it, but you actually have to do these power things in a very
finessey way.
Yeah,
like a finessey way.
Yeah, and sometimes even with the pitching baits and the punching baits, I'm downsizing. One of my favorite, like this time of year, is a BB cricket. You know, dude, and it has no kicking appendages. It's like a micro stick bait with little arms that don't do anything, you know, and I think it's 3 inches long, dude. But they tend to gravitate towards some of that.
I'd say the benefit of that too is like instead of punching like a big moving bait through grass, right? You can go down to like a 3/4 ounce weight,
exactly,
to 1.5 ounces, and because it's so small and compact, if you get it in there right, it drops just as fast as that 1.5 ounce weight with something with a ton of appendages,
or even
if not quicker.
Direction, dude. Some of that scummy stuff gets so thick. I've used a 2 ounce and even like a 2 1/4. But like the max weight when I'm doing this punching deal that I want to go to is a 175, because when you transition into like a 2, you lose a lot of fish, dude. And it's a workout. Like you need, in my opinion, you need a different rod, to like a crazy rod to flip like a 2.5 ounce. And you start losing fish, and you'd be amazed with a 1.5 and that little cricket, like the stuff that you weren't getting through, like you said, with a creature bait. Like, dude, that joker will just slide through like butter, like done. So,
and they don't see anything in there because nobody else is fishing it that way. So they're
it's
almost
virgin territory,
boy.
boy.
Almost unpressured fish on a pressured body
that
of
doesn't
water.
exist anymore, dude.
I know, but we try to be hopefully optimistic.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I like it, dude. I like it.
So number 1, you kind of already segued into it.
No, we're on number dose.
We're on 2 still.
Don't be skipping stuff.
Sorry, I'm backtracking. Go ahead.
In the end, there's like a million other baits that I kind of want to mention. I'm gonna throw a topwater in there, and it's one of those deals. It really depends where you're at. So spook fishing or even like a fluke, this is kind of, it's all seasonal. September, October, like there's just a moment, and it's like a 3-week period where that spook bite and that like fluke bite is just, it's dumb, dude. But it can be a lot of nothing, and then you catch one, and then a lot of nothing, and then you catch one. And I don't like fishing like that, but if you are tournament fishing and you're fishing for bigs, it's what you need to do, dude. But I always, if I'm being honest, like I'll do that some, but then I'll have like the worm, or something along those lines. So I'll play around with being able to kind of get some bites and be efficient about the water that I'm fishing, but at the same time have that spook ready to go and do some of that jazz.
Yeah, I love like midsummer. Like I don't know what it is about like getting big northern strain largemouth to come up and eat a spook at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon when it's flat calm and they won't eat anything else. And you only get like 2 to 3 chances at those fish, but they're always giants when they come up.
And that's the funny part about like this. Later in the fall, they get a little more committed to it. But the funny part about that late summer, even midsummer spook bite is it is literally according to Al Lindler's fishing textbook, it's probably the last thing you should be throwing right now. Like it's glass water. There's no wind, high sun. And dude, they'll crush a spook. They won't do they'll nibble at your worm. It's the weirdest thing I ever seen.
They'll miss a popper by 7 feet.
Yeah, dude. With this big thing going donk, donk. They're just like
but you don't get many bites.
Yeah.
The other day I threw it on a guide trip for like 5.5 hours of Vixen. I got 1 bite on it, and it was almost a 5-pounder.
Yeah.
And
that's what it is too. I had that experience. Me and my buddy Donnie he was going to fish the I think at this point it was the Costa Championship. It was like 3-4 years ago up on Cumberland. Which is a known, it's really good smallmouth in the spring, but it's a Highland impoundment, which I'm still not very good at. And like there's a bunch of smallmouth, and the one thing with late summer and smallmouth is it sucks. Like it's terrible on an impoundment. On natural lakes, it's a little different game.
It still sucks on natural lakes.
Sometimes. Okay, so it just sucks. Late summer and smallmouth sucks, dude. So it's like, and dude, there was like some cigarette boat like ride up, dude. So there's like 35-foot freaking 450s, with chicks and freaking oh, dude, it was a trip. But the funny thing we found is we could actually see some fish. We didn't have active target or anything like that, but I would scan like a hump or a point, a 50-foot of water, 40-foot, drop a drop shot down, maybe catch like a little rat dick, 12-inch smallmouth and that. And finally, it was such a grind that Donnie was like, he's funny. He's old redneck. He's like, I heard to catch them on top, like you go and you commit to it. I'm like, all right, Donnie, like we got nothing else going for us in this life, so let's just send it. So, dude, literally, we both picked up, dude, like little Lucky Craft gunfish, and we just went miles, dude. And like, boom, he catches a 4-pound smallmouth. Then like 2 hours later, he catches another 4-pound. It was one of those
no rhyme or reason,
dude. It's stupid, like, and the ones you can see, you can't catch, but that was the deal, and I actually don't like that because I like the rhyme or reason. I don't mind fishing and grinding, but I need something more than you pick up this lure and you throw it like your life's gonna end. You know,
this one was on a bluff wall over 200 feet of water. This one was in 6 inches in the back of a creek on a log. Like,
dude, that's what it is. Like, it's just, I don't know.
This one blew up on bait on nothing, and I threw my spook over there, and it ate my spook. Like,
exactly, dude. And that actually happened yesterday. Me and my buddy went out. I literally caught like 3 fish to his 1. But at the end of the day, like he got, we had 1 spook. He didn't bring a spook. And he caught like a 6-pounder on a worm, but he was behind me on the front deck of the boat. And one blew up like literally 30 yards over there. And he's the first one to run back there because like I couldn't like elbow him to get him out of the way, you know. He grabs it and dude like fumble dicks. And like, oh dude, so it's like 5 minutes later, he makes the cast bobcat and he missed it by like 10 feet. But dude, lo and behold, like 25 feet of water, nowhereville, dude. Like it's like nothing. It's like country roads for days. He goes donk donk and friggin' 5-pounder, dude. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, really? It was just, but it happened. So you gotta be ready for it. You know,
it's funny, like when I'm cleaning out, like, you know how sometimes when you're flipping grass, you'll get that slight overrun with fluorocarbon if you're fishing with sparse grass. Like you just make a dumb, nonchalant cast out and like run it out. And you reel down, you're like, what the? Like, where are you?
That's what it is. Yeah, it's like that guy, you know, that one dude you bring in the back of the boat. He fishes okay. He's, you know, nothing special. But he's one of those dudes where he just like, hey, I got one. It's like, dude, what? You were just like, what the?
Throwing his wacky Senko to nowhere land and gets one.
That's the guy you give the spook to. Because he's going to be your cleanup hitter. He's going to catch your 7-pounder, dude. You're going to go glory to the freaking weigh-in stand, dude. And right
how'd he catch him? Spook on nothing. Like, what do you mean? Like, literally nothing.
Nothing. But that kind of relates, though, to what we were talking about is they become more pelagic, you know? They're chasing bait. And, you know, odds are, you know, I didn't see it on an active target or anything. There was a ball of bait right there. He wasn't just freaking, like, surfacing, like, you know, Free Willy to be like, hey, will you save me? You know, like, there was something happened right there, whether it was one brim that skedaddled to the surface. But that's the opportunity and the challenge of this time of year going into September until that water starts to cool down just a hair, you know, and they get a little more predictable.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, on the little video I put out today, when me and Bailey were fishing, I was throwing that buzz bait. I was talking about catching smallies. All of a sudden, I'm in like 40 foot of water. My front graph electrical issues isn't working, but I know this lake like the back of my hand. Right. And I'm like, God, there's bluegill everywhere, just like 6 inches underneath the surface, just roaming. And also, I saw like a 15-inch smallmouth in the middle of them, over 40 foot of water. I literally pitched my buzzbait to it, like 3 real turns, and I watched him turn his head and shoot after. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to eat it. I wish I had a chest like GoPro, because it was like 10 feet from the boat, just the buzzbait. Middle of nowhere for no reason. Like,
dude, that's, you know, and it's funny you say it, because that's the thing. So I hate the non-conformity, the no reason behind it, but I love the fish. So I love the weird, unique experiences we have. And this time of year, like, feeds into that. This is when you catch that 6-pounder on a spook, like you said, over 50 feet of water. You'll never catch another fish there ever again, dude.
It's not even worth it to waypoint it.
Like, dude, but like random crazy stuff like that happens. And for as much as that, it sucks that there's no reason. It's cool when you catch it on video and catch that experience. You're like, mind blown, dude. Like, that was insane.
You can literally say to the camera at that point, this will never happen again. Mark my words.
Yeah. Like, dude, I'll show you here. Let me show you the coordinates, dude. Take that. Show up.
Good luck.
And it's the same with schooling fish too. Like, you know, you'll see them just blow up dude, that's the thing too. Like, I always tell people, like, a tournament, guys, like this time of year, literally, dude, pre-fishing isn't time to shake them off. Like, unless there's some grass thing or some structure thing, if you see fish schooling, have some fun and put a smile on your face, dude. Because they ain't going to be there at 2 p.m. tomorrow when you come back to get your kicker fish, dude. So you might as well enjoy it now, dude.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it was the Eufaula. No, it was Gunnersville. No, Chickamauga. Sorry. Get all my events messed up for Bailey. He's at Chick, and he calls me. And he's like, dude, I don't know if I should catch these fish right now. I go, so what is your pattern? And he tells me. And I'm like, dude, you're on a ledge. There's going to be 400 boats on it tomorrow. Just put the freaking rails to them. Have some fun. Don't regret it. Because your
Smoke them while you got them, dude.
Your pattern is completely different. Have a riot. And he's like, okay. And he did really well running his pattern. Never fished that spot. And he's like, I burned it to the ground and I caught some big ones. Like, that a boy.
That's like schadenfreude though, because somebody's gonna show up in the morning and that's their juice, that's their quick limit, dude. And he totally pissed on that guy's party, dude. So
that was the thing. Like that group of fish he found was literally on nothing.
Really?
Yeah, he was just like, I was paddling over to another spot that looked good, and they were literally on mud.
That's awesome. Tell them to send me that waypoint. That's the kind of sneak stuff that happens now, though. With all our electronics, these fish are like, dude, we're GTFOing. Like, I had enough of it. And they just show up on this random stuff, dude. And it's like juice.
Yeah. You might want to ask him about that story.
I actually do. I'm kind of curious about that.
So, number one.
It's probably a swim bait, dude. Because it's a nice blend. I like fishing soft plastics, so that I'm biased in that regard. But I also like to at least cover a little bit of water, but maybe do it in an intricate, more detail-oriented manner. I think a chatterbait's kind of bulldozy. The spook is hit or miss, like we were just talking about. Worm dragging is you're going to cover a quarter mile in 2 hours. And flipping is like you commit to it. So that swim bait, and especially moving into later fall, I can do a lot with it. And we were talking about initially water columns, those fish, dude, in fall, I've caught them down to 50 feet. I've caught them in like 6 to 8, but maybe not on the surface. Like they're not all the way committed to coming up. Maybe it's gotten cold enough, or maybe they're not doing it,
Mm-hmm.
And that swim bait really allows me a huge amount of versatility. And it lets me at least feel like I'm going somewhere. But what I will do is I have two kind of sort of tangential setups. I got my kayak on like a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 ounce finesse ball head. And I'll either have that on a really light bait casting setup or a spinning rod. But then I'll have, your 1/2 ounce, maybe your 3/4, depending on depth. But usually it's like 1/2 or 3/8, like the 5/0, 6/0 hook. And your 6-inch swim bait, like your 5-inch swim bait. And really with those, depending on the speed that I reel, I can fish them in a ton of different like water columns. I can fish them on my graph. They show up. I can active target fish them. And it's just one of those things. If I see a ball of bait, even up shallow, I know it's either going to bite that bigger swim bait, or it's almost, I don't want to say 100% because there's no guarantees in fishing, but you put that 3.3 kayak or that 2.8 kayak out there and you slow reel it, your deal's going to load up, dude. Like they're going to bite it and they're going to let you know what's going on. So that's really my go-to, dude. Like that, it's a confidence deal, but what's nice is it's also a great way to cover water.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny how many giants will eat that little tiny swim bait.
Dude, I love that. And there's an art. So I like between the hair jig and that kayak, there's an art to fishing that. And I don't say that lightly, dude. There are certain retrieves that if you know, you know. Yeah. If you don't know, I will
lost
you up from the back of the boat, dude.
Yeah.
Like even my buddy Jacob Wall, dude, crazy good angler. Fished at the pro circuit. He actually made the BPT for next year. And he teaches me a ton of stuff. He's better than me at a lot of stuff, dude. Jerkbait fishing, all this stuff. I took him out. I found these not giant lakes, but not small lakes. They're kind of those in-between lakes in Tennessee. And there's one of them that has spots, smallmouth, and largemouth. And they kind of relate to all the same places, especially late in fall when that bait congregates, because they're all eating the same thing, right? Dude, I schooled him with a kayak. And it got to a point where he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, dude, it's this little, you do this little reel thing, and you got to play. Sometimes it's the lighter one, sometimes. And he couldn't get it. So like I catch a 4-pounder and you throw the same damn place. And there's another 3 of them. And he just couldn't get it. But like there's something with, and tight lining too. When you're playing with that kayak, between retrieves and then that tight lining thing, it becomes a huge player. It's almost like spring, dude. Really like suspending that bait, penduluming it down. There's an art to it, dude. And if you can dial it in, you will get a lot of bites, you will get big bites, even on that tiny little thing.
Yeah, I'm sure Active Target has probably helped a ton with it as well.
100%, dude. 100%. Because it's slow fishing, especially when you talk about that kayak on a quarter ounce and you're fishing in 25, 30 foot of water. Like, dude, you're not doing exactly, man. Like it's an art, dude. Like I said, and in riding it up to the level you need to be at, because you always want to be just above them. You don't like being below. They'll bite, but the real trick is them looking up, because they're looking up at that bait. So you want that bait not so high that they miss it. You want it in their face, but
6 inches roughly.
Exactly, dude. And you do that, you will see them turn on it every time. So I'm really looking forward to that too, because when I finally get back to Alabama in October or so, that bite should be on, and I hella enjoy that, dude. Because I throw those things on that finesse wire. It's like that Scottsboro Hellfire ball head.
Yeah.
And dude, it is a blast, because you got 12-pound test. I'm running on 8-pound to 14-pound leader on a spinning rod. And like, you got to be gentle, because between the lighter line and those hooks, you bend them out, dude. But dude, it's a lot of fun.
Your drag is squealing before you even lean into them.
Dude, I love. Or you stop and like you go to lift your rod and the whole thing just bends over, dude, and all it does is kick out drag.
Yeah.
Like, that is so much fun.
Or
dude.
you're just like reeling and you can feel them suck it in, but then before you even set the hook, they're pulling drag because they're running.
You know the art then, dude, because literally you feel a bite before you get bit.
Yeah,
like it's the craziest.
You can feel them push it,
dude. It's so, especially with like spots and smallmouth.
Yeah.
Largemouth, you feel like, especially on the bigger ones, because they suck. But dude, those spots, you almost feel like they push the water, like they're coming up so quick, like you feel the water like go displace, and you're like,
oh! It's so funny, cool. Like that you mentioned that, right? Like when I first figured out what was going on, I would premature, like I'm like, I know he's there, and I'd rip. I'm like, why did I miss him? Like, so I would like, I feel him push. I'm like, okay, count to 2 before you set. Like,
or don't even set.
Yeah,
like,
or dude, just keep reeling.
I'm a firm believer in it's all about the rod.
Yeah.
You just reel like that. When I put a 3/8 on, I run a 7-foot medium, and it's got this awesome like rod bounce to it. And even on the spinning setup, it's got some tip to it. And dude, I just reel, and usually you're doing this in fairly open water. So if something's pulling on your deal, odds are it's alive. Otherwise, you hung some random stump or the bottom and you're SOL, So just keep on reeling, dude, and your rod will just bend on over.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like the mid-September-ish, we get a couple spots around me where the smallmouth push shallow, and you can catch like 5.5 pounders just slow rolling that little.
I love that bite. Absolutely love it.
And I'm like,
I'll throw this in really quick. One thing that I've done the past couple of years, if you watch the videos at all, I love fishing a Ned, and everybody's needle dicking a Ned, dude. The thing that I'll do is I actually have that Ned set up along with those swim baits, and I swim that Ned, dude. And that is naughty, just like a kayak, and especially in ultra clear water when they don't want any kind of wag, or if there's more brim, because a lot of those stick baits are, green pumpkin, things along those lines. It's a killer presentation. I actually caught a couple little rats doing it today, but that suspended bait deal, don't sit on a Ned. You can drag it and pop it, but the real art is literally kayakaking a Ned, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, I caught a few smallmouth this past spring, but like on a out sometimes, how like people old school used to crack a tube on a spinning rod. Summertime, like big spots and stuff. I'll actually go to a super heavy head on like a small, like 4-inch net, and I'll crack a net. And God, some of the bites you get doing that is
it's stupid,
insane. Like you're just
the only crappy part is your deal's always sliding down, dude, because you're like pop, and like
I've found a way to change that.
Screw
lock net heads.
I actually have. Gambler makes one of those, dude. It's more of a heavy cover deal, so it's hard to use for the popping because you need that lighter wire hook. That is the solution right there, dude.
Me and Bailey, do it molds there on the bottom of the screen right below you. We make. I don't have any up here with me, but I pour them all in my garage. And like the hook to use for it is an Owner 5313 because it's a thicker gauged hook.
Really?
So, yeah. So like,
see, I would think the exact opposite, dude.
Yeah. Because you can get away with a little bit heavier line with a little bit stouter rod. And you're not going to flex the hook out. So
and then you can really put some English on it and pop it up really good.
So like when I'm in like 40 foot of water on Erie and I'm running a 7'2" medium extra fast rod and 8-pound test and 10-pound braid, I literally hit them like I'm setting the hook on a flipping stick, and it's pinned in the top of their mouth. Yeah, that's
interesting.
But if
I'm going to get into that bite, so I'm going to play around with that a little bit, dude.
If I'm just slowly tapping it or swimming it, 5318 or a 604. Got me 604. Yeah. That real thin wire hook. Then when I'm just nonchalantly fishing a Ned, slow swimming it, lightly dragging it on the bottom, I go real thin wire. So
I'll have to play with that because the Neds I run are the Nichols.
The heavy ones.
So I run the heavy. So JT has that JTK Mag Ned. So that's the thicker one that I'll use, and it has a hook I think comparable to what you're talking about. But then my spotted bass smallmouth kind of late season and then spring one is they make a Clint Davis, and it's got what I would describe as like the old bluegill hook on it. It's but you never like, dude, if they're hooked, unless you break them off, they ain't coming off, dude. And you don't, them weird bites you get, like when you're like, dude, it hooks them every time, dude. So
that's why I love that 5313 hook, because it's razor sharp like a thin wire, but it's just I'll send you pictures later because I think I have some in my garage when we're done with this. I'm
kind of curious what it looks like because I love fishing a Ned, dude, and a Ned works. Maybe not 365 days of the year, but especially if you deal with smallmouth or spots, it does work 365 days a year, dude. It's just one of those things that's super reliable, and I'm always comfortable with it because I'm a plastics guy, like coming from Florida. And
I don't know if you can see this. This is the 604, right? This is not a football head that I put.
That's the bigger one, right?
This is the Gami 604.
Really?
I don't know if you can see it, but I can really flex it. This is the 5313. Like, it hardly fits. Like,
I love those tiny stout hooks, dude.
Yeah, that's what
that's sweet.
Yeah, that's a bad hook. Now I'm giving up some secrets. No, but like, there's only 3 hooks you need for a Ned rig: 604, 5313, and 5318, in my opinion. So, and they all have different situations for them, and I'll put them in football heads to swim that kayak with different for like different situations. So
well, and that's something we didn't talk about, but you can play with I like that ball head on the suspended fish, but if they're more down, you want something more like that football head or something along those lines to so you can ride that rock, ride that hard bottom.
Yeah, and sometimes that football head too, depending on the size of that kayak, you get the list.
Yes.
Like it creates a list, and a lot of people overlook that. So
and if you got largemouth, you can even go to the wobble head too. Yeah. That slow reel wobble head. But when you start dealing with the spots on the smallmouth, even if you put on the old Shaughnessy hook on your wobble head, you miss a lot of fish, dude. Yeah. And it can be a struggle, man.
Yep. I get it. So, well, I want to say thank you for dropping some knowledge for our viewers, but before we get to that point, do you have anything you want to tell our viewers and your following what you have coming up for the second half of the year now that we're in August?
Like I talked about, stay tuned for some Florida videos. Hopefully I'll catch some more. I actually caught one. I didn't have a scale, but it was between 11 and 12.
You got to get a scale in the boat, man.
Dude, it's 3 times. I'm going to get so much hate, dude, because there's literally 3 videos where I didn't have a scale. Actually, so that's something cool I'm going to do. I'm going to grab one of those Rapala fish scales. I know there's mixed reviews, but I really want to, we're talking about video diversity. I'd like to do some like either 1v1 or some self tournaments. It's like, here's my 5 best on the dangler, and that scale provides an opportunity for me. I really don't like putting fish in the live well. I'm not a fan of tournaments in general, but especially tournaments late in the year. There's too many freaking dead fish, and there's more people fishing. We need to be very careful with our resource, especially when it comes to bigs, dude. They're very delicate this time of year. So I'm going to do that. But I got some Florida videos coming. We're going to do a road trip with Swimsuit Girl up to Wisconsin, see my best friend, do some smallmouth pond / small lake jumping, which should be really cool, and maybe even fish a few of the old largemouth haunts. And then it's going to be fall, dude. So in the end, I guess my pitch is, if you guys enjoy grassroots fishing, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. My video editing might not be the most perfectious, like, artistic thing, but if you like that and no bullshit, hit subscribe, watch some of the videos, because I think you might enjoy them. If you don't, worst that can happen is you give me a thumbs down, troll me with a few naughty comments, and move on.
Love it. So, like, and now this is like a personal question on when it comes to like analytics and stuff, right? Like, and I don't know, I've never really asked anyone this question. When you get a thumbs down on a video, does it affect you, do you think, when it comes to like searching?
I have no idea.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I'm a firm believer. We were talking about phrases, like American phrases that mean nothing, that we say. But one thing that I do believe in is, what is it? Any press is good press.
Yeah.
So if somebody gave a thumbs down, they watch the video and they're like, I hate you. And the reality is, if they don't like it, I post 2 videos a week. They're going to see my stuff again. They might like it, or they might be like, that's the guy who's a total douchebag, and they might watch it for that. So whatever, dude.
Can we make fun of them for now?
Yeah, I'll ride that train. Like, you're never one of the most interesting things, and I always talk about it in relation to the Guggen guys. There's a lot of guys that talk all this smack about like Guggen, and dude, like they were kids when they started doing this, and a lot of people said some mean things, and they were very innovative and did very different things and dimensionalized our industry for what it is. But what I look at is, I was more of an adult when I got into this stuff, and people say mean things all the time. Like, so the reality is, it's just like any situation you're in, there's going to be people that like you, people that don't care about you, and people that hate you. So I just ride the train, dude. And in the end, I want to be halfway honest, direct, and true to what I think is what I need to create and put out there. And if I'm doing that, I'm doing what I should be doing. That might evolve and modify over time, but that's what I need to be doing, regardless of whether I'm getting 27 of those, if I'm getting guys that are leaving like trolley comments or hateful comments on the thing. I never like to censor stuff. I never remove comments unless it's like spam or something like that. Like, everybody deserves their voice, and I'm just going to ride and keep on moving forward.
Well, I appreciate that honestly, because like, we have so much censorship, right, in society, where everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but everyone thinks they are right in every aspect of life. A lot of people think that way. And honestly, by you being able to accept the open dialogue, it's just one further step that more people should probably take, because the United States would be a much happier place if we could agree to disagree more, instead of just saying you're wrong and I'm right. So,
well, and I'll tell you this, dude, maybe I'm a little too relativistic sometimes, because I am wishy-washy. But the reality is, there is no one rule in fishing, and that's a lot like life. There's nothing that works in life that works in fishing day after day, 24/7. And the reality is, you need to embrace that discourse, and you can make 2 choices. You can either be a part of that and embrace it for the full discourse it is, love, hate, or don't pay any attention to it, or you can remove yourself from it. But the only person that's losing is you, dude, because you're not a part of that growth and that evolution that's occurring. Like, you're on the sidelines, and none of us, at least in my opinion, I say that with a grain of salt. At some point, I think I do want to be a hermit in some like little freaking cabin in the middle of nowhere, like on the sidelines. But in reality, for now, you got to be in the mix, dude. Otherwise, you're not doing anything. Like, you're just monotonous. Nothing is happening. So embrace the discourse, negative, positive, whatever it is, and deal with it, dude.
I think that is a great word of advice for a lot of people who hopefully have listened all the way here to an hour and 25 minutes in.
Wow.
But like, yeah, sorry about that. We were only supposed to be for like an hour.
I enjoyed it, dude. It's a conversation. I think we covered a little bit of life, a lot of fishing, some boat stuff. Like, we're good. Do you have like some chick in a bikini to walk across to kind of close us out the right way? Or?
That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Dude, I'd be good. I'd be like, it's been fun, dude.
No, unfortunately, I do not have that.
Well, have me on in 3 years when you guys are like well funded and you can have a couple chicks on the side for the whole thing, and
just like handing us Bruce the entire time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, come on, dude. You got to get there. It's a step-by-step process, right?
Hey, you have to be able to walk before you run. So, I guess, right? So. Oh man, well, thank you. I know Bailey set this up and then decided to work in Wisconsin, so I'm
totally texting him. I'm giving him so much shit for this. Friggin' B team, bro.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We made an A effort out of it, so I appreciate you here. And it was a good time, and hopefully all of our listeners and viewers enjoyed this episode. And thank you again. Safe travels up to Wisconsin. That's quite the haul from Florida. So
I'm going back to Alabama for a week, and then I'm going up. That's actually one of the reasons I moved, dude. It's only 10 hours, dude.
Really?
Yeah, that's why. So I don't want to train wreck this, but
you're good, man.
So many of those pro guys that live in Guntersville, and the fishing is great, and Alabama is great for that. But from a hub standpoint, it's like 8 hours to North Carolina, 12 hours to Florida, 10 hours up north. It's still out west. It's a haul, but 8 hours to Texas. It's a great way to, I like being on the road. I like traveling to new places and seeing the progression on the way. It's a great place to be to do that, dude, to kind of set up your hub and then go out and chase your adventures from there.
Yeah, you got to go to Champlain one day. It's kind of far out there, but
you did. Yeah.
So to give like how big New York State is, Champlain is about 8 hours from me.
Are you serious? You guys got a Florida problem. It takes like 8 hours to get out of Florida, dude.
It's terrible. So from Buffalo to Albany, I think it's like 4.5, and then to get to Ticonderoga, which is like one of the most southern parts. Yeah, it's like 6.25 for me to get to Plattsburgh or Rouse's Point. There's no easy way there. It's like 4 hours up the 86 to like Clayton and then over, and it's another 4 hours, or I can go the other way. So it's like 7 to 8 hours for me to get to Plattsburgh from my house. Yeah.
So basically, I shouldn't text you and be like, "Hey, Andrew, what's the fishing report on Champlain?" You'll be like,
"Yeah, I have no idea.
Learn geography, dude."
Yeah, I have no idea. So like New York City is 8 hours and like 10 minutes from me or something ridiculous.
That's so crazy. Because like all of us freaking flyover country people think you're all like metro, dude.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm from New York. And it's like, hey, yeah, and it's like, no, dude, bro, like it's a large state. Thanks.
But it's funny to put it in reference, right? Clayton is 3.5, 4 hours. Oneida is 2.5. Cayuga is 2. Seneca is 2. All the other Finger Lakes are 2 hours.
That's sweet.
Yeah, but like literally they're like the closer you get to my house, there's still 2 hours because I have to get off the thruway and drive all this country back roads to get there and down. So everything is literally 2 hours from my house.
See, one day, I don't know if I want to live on a lake because I think you get complacent because you're like right there. But one day I will live in a place that is like 5 minutes from a boat ramp, dude. Like that, I always go. Like I'm at my parents' house right now, and I'm like 3 minutes from the boat ramp. But it's kind of like a work/vacations. Like it's a fun trip. But at some point, I will be that big time that I can be like, hey, I'm gonna go fishing for 2 hours, and literally the boat ramp's 3 minutes away, dude.
Oh, you would hate me. So the Upper Niagara River is 7 minutes from my house.
Okay, I hate you. And so we're gonna close this off on a negative. So I'm gonna create negative discourse. Like,
perfect. That's fine. You can hate the hate. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then Buffalo is, I think, 18 and at like 18, 19 minutes from my house in the morning. At 6
Well,
o'clock.
you're living right, dude. Well, but you told me you can fish all year. I was gonna give you some flack because you can only fish 6 months out of the year, but that's not true, dude.
No, our lakes our lakes will open around the end of March, like a lot of our inland lakes, middle of March they'll open depending on which one it is and where it's at. And we can fish them until about Christmas.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a misconception that I had about up there. I didn't even my buddy in is it Connecticut, like Candlewood and stuff like that.
Oh, Candlewood stays open some years all year.
Yeah, dude. He was telling me like we'll go out there and like you said, it can be a grind, it can be cold and stuff. But he's like, dude, we fish like throughout. Like when I was in Wisconsin, that wasn't a play, dude. There was like 12 inches, 15 inches of ice on the lake, dude. You weren't going nowhere, dude.
Yeah. So like we'll still get 15 to 24 inches of ice on a lot of our lakes, but it comes and it's gone. And because we'll go from like 20-degree weather to 70 degrees in like 2 weeks. It's a huge.
Telling me it's crazy how it swings, and then it'll go back, and then it'll slow everything down. Like it's crazy, like it's very timing oriented.
Yeah, like it'll thaw for like 5 days, and it'll be like, okay, the ice isn't safe, and then we'll get like a northern Arctic blast for 8 days, and it's like 4 degrees every day. We're like, oh, we got 18 inches of ice again. Like, great.
Get out the Prozac. We're holding off, dude.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I can't tell you in the last couple of years how many times it's like, oh, it's going to be 70 for a week. I'm going to get my boat out. I get my boat out.
On, dude.
I get it home. It snows. We get 2 feet of snow. And I'm like, perfect.
Perfect. Life is good.
Yeah.
Just keep those smiles going, boys.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Like crap. Like, what do I do now? Should have left it in storage. But hey, whatever. It's the way it goes. But once again, Mike, greatly appreciate it. I hope all stays well. And I guess we'll end it on a happy note here. And none of this. And we will get out of here for the night. And I will let you get some sleep because I know you probably have a busy couple days ahead of you working, grinding your butt off. So
I hope they're biting, dude. That's all I have to say. Yeah. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, dude. It was good to talk to you guys again. Call me later when you guys get the chicks, and I'll come back on. All right.
So in about 1,000
about 4 years.
About 40 years, man. So,
hit me up, bro.
We'll all have like our walkers, like what?
Oh yeah, dude. And then we'll have the chicks.
Yes. Perfect. So, all right. On that note, I'm going to close this out here. And everyone who's listening on this Friday, have a great day.